Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Jacksonville at Pathway Plaza, known by many in Jacksonville as the old Kmart, but as you can see, it's had a real facelift and changed a lot. Pathway moved in here about a year and a half ago, and what a way to celebrate their 50th anniversary serving Jacksonville and Central Illinois. And as you can see, they have some tenants here in this new facility. It's a huge 100,000-foot facility. Rudy's Grill is here, as well as Dunham Sports and Pathway. And then over on this side, you can see the attic, which is a new resale shop, and their electronics recycling on the end, which is also new. The 50th year for Pathway has been one of big changes. Steve Brundage, we're in the far end of Pathway. It's the old Kmart building on Morton.
Exactly.
And on this far edge is where the electronics is going on.
Right.
The electronics recycling is going on.
Correct.
So it's a little noisy in here. But it's kind of nice because people are working, and in order to work, to do a task, you got to make a little noise once in a while, right?
That's right. That's the sound of money, I guess, for these guys. These guys are they're working hard. They're taking electronic items, everything from computers to clock radios to whatever else is brought in. They make a paycheck. This stuff gets sold. It doesn't end up in a landfill, so it's kind of a win-win-win for everybody. These guys are pretty good at what they do. They know exactly what they're doing, and this is what it's all about.
Guys
this is
and
why we're
gals.
here.
Guys
Absolutely.
and gals, yeah.
A lot of folks are busy in this.
Yeah, it's in 50 years, Pathway grew and grew and grew, and to the point where you've been here over 8 years, to the point where you found yourself like in 5 or 6 or 7 different locations in Jacksonville.
Right.
Something had to give, didn't it?
Yeah, we were in 5 locations, and when they first hired me, it was pretty clear that there was no room for growth. There was no room to do anything else. And that was one of the desires of the board, was to try to consolidate those services into one area where we could continue to grow and services could be provided in one setting. We actually combined 4 of those 5 settings at this Kmart building. This building's over 100,000 square feet. We lease roughly 45,000 square feet to a restaurant and to a sporting goods store. We have the rest of the space. We've actually kind of outgrown this space because our guys are busy. We found things for them to do, so they're having a good time, and so I see continued growth for Pathway in the future.
You're still able to have your classroom services.
Oh, absolutely.
And when Jacksonville Developmental Center came under sort of a doubtful, you didn't know what was going to happen to the future.
Right.
That's where your office was. That's where the headquarters was. So you had to start looking for a place to go from there. And a lot of your people that you serve resided there.
Yes.
And you're thinking, well, they're not going to have a place to live anymore. I mean, it all sort of turned upside down on you, didn't it?
Yeah, we hadn't anticipated the closure of Jacksonville Developmental Center, but we knew we needed to do something. So we'd actually purchased this building before the closure of Jacksonville Developmental Center was announced. We had started the planning process, and we worked with local vendors to try to get zoning and work out some other arrangements and tie the parking lot with Walmart's parking lot. We talked with the folks that wanted to lease these buildings. We started all of that process, and then before, just about a month after JDC closure was announced, that's when we started construction. So, it kind of makes us look like geniuses, but really a lot of it was just dumb luck.
Yeah, well, but you had to survive.
Oh, yes.
And you didn't know exactly what was going to happen, so you went ahead and you did it. Now let me make sure I get this right so our audience knows what services you provide. You've got this vocational part. This is part of the vocational part.
Yes.
And then you've got the classroom. You've got school.
Our day service program.
We're going to go to some of the classrooms as well. You've got the group homes.
We have
and none of the people you serve anymore live in a residential, like a dormitory type situation. They're all in group homes now, right?
Group homes of 8 or less. After JDC closed, we built 8 homes within a very short period of time. All of them are 4-bed homes. Most of those individuals came from JDC. They moved into the community. They're doing very well. Actually, we're getting ready to build another home in Springfield. And so we're still continuing to grow. Those individuals are moving out of developmental centers, or they're coming out of private homes, moving into group homes, and so there's a lot going on still.
And then you've got the preschool.
Yes, we do.
Which was the old Pathways building.
Correct. It's here on Southwest Street. We serve children that are pretty involved individuals that are developmentally disabled, have physical disabilities. And so they go to those schools, and we have a community-based program too, where we serve individuals with developmental disabilities in their own home. That, one of our workers goes to the home and works with them to try to help improve their social skills, cognitive skills, person skills, whatever it is that they need help with, and get out into the community. So we also do that.
Yeah. Let's walk this way a little bit. I
Sure.
got another question for you, because
Certainly.
everybody always wants to know how these kind of places are funded.
Sure.
And so you're going to, you come up against a situation, thank you, sir, where many of the places that have relied on state funding in the past can't get paid for what they do anymore. And so
Right.
it's a very difficult situation for you all, I'm sure.
Yes, about 85% of our funding is through Medicaid. And we also have some grants, and there are some private funding also. So when Medicaid gets a cold, we kind of tend to get the flu. But the payment cycle has improved recently, and so that has been a great help to us, because often we have to borrow money just to meet payroll because our bills are so far behind. So we've got a couple of good banks in town that have really supported us, so we've been able to keep that going. I think they also like what we're doing, and they see our growth and they see potential here, so they've been very supportive of us. And it's been a challenge, but we've survived and thrived.
You have, let's look at all the people that you have in this vocational, all that you have in your training and schooling, all the people that are in your group homes. How many individuals do you serve?
We serve probably on a daily basis right around 200 individuals, give or take, and that includes our community-based individuals, our facility-based folks like this, and in our residential programs. Now, not everybody in our residential program comes to this day service program. They have a choice. So there are other day service programs. If they like what's going on there, they can go to that location. A lot of times they have friends there, and they want to continue to socialize with those. So they have a choice, and we're very supportive of their choices.
Well, this is a real eye-opener. I mean, looking at this 100,000 square foot building home like this, it's pretty neat. And congratulations on 50 years.
Well, thank you. We're very proud to celebrate 50 years. And we have a lot of folks that have been with us for a great number of those years. So it's been a pretty special trip.
We're going to meet one of those young, I call him a young man. He's
Yes.
53 now.
Yes.
His mom was one of the founders. He's still here.
Yes.
And so we will get a chance to meet one of the original residents.
You'll enjoy talking with them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carolyn Milton, without you and some other parents way back more than 50 years ago,
50 years ago.
without your efforts, Pathways might not even exist today.
I would say that it wouldn't be here. That's true.
What was your experience? Why did you think something like Pathways was necessary?
Because when we moved to Jacksonville in 1963, and Dale was at that time 3 years old. And when we moved here, I found out that there was nothing no place that Dale could go. I knew they had a deaf school here, they had a blind school here, they had the JDC, but I didn't want my child in JDC, so I decided I better do something about it. So that's the reason that I really started Pathway. I called a visiting nurses and asked her if she knew some parents that I could talk to, some mothers I could talk to, really. I just wanted the mothers. And she said, I can't give you any names, but I'll call them, and then they'll call you. 17 women called me.
Wow, that's a turnout, isn't it?
Yes, it was. So we decided to have our first meeting, which was in February of 1964. And that's when we decided to have and the first thing we had was a kindergarten or a preschool for the ones, just a summer school, I should have called it a summer school. And we had 2 teachers and 3 aides, and we had, I think, 25 children at our first classrooms, and we held it in a church.
Very good turnout, really.
Very good turnout.
You know,
And none of these people had ever been having any help at all.
well, and that leads into my next question. 50 years ago, the outlook for somebody like Dale was pretty grim. What did the doctors tell you at the time?
When we first had Dale diagnosed, which he was 6 months old, in up in Chicago. The doctor told us then, after they told us that he was severely mentally handicapped, that we just well leave him there. I said, no, I'm not leaving my baby. So.
So he thought the best thing for you and your family was for you to leave your son
That's right.
in some kind of a residential
Yes.
environment, and for you to go on with your life like
Yes,
nothing happened.
Because she said he would not live any longer than 10 years anyway.
And here he is, 53 years
He's
old.
53.
And I can tell from his interactions with the staff here that he knows what love is, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yes, he
Yes,
does.
he does.
So you and your friends, your co-founders, first started the preschool, and then you worked your way up. And I love this part of the story because then you started raising money.
Yes, we did.
And if we look at this here, you bought some property
That's right, we did.
for the Pathway School, and then you mortgaged your homes to build. I love this. Talk about taking the bull by the horns. To build this school,
There was
this
10
building is still there.
10 parents did this, yes. And yes, that building is still being used. And it's used as a preschool. Am I saying that right? Preschool.
For
For
little bitty kids.
little
And
kids,
This
yeah.
is a picture of the times. We're looking at
Yes.
this Pathway School bus. This would have been the time that,
Yes.
that you built that
Yes,
school.
we used that during the, till we moved here.
It's a phenomenal story, and you're still involved.
Yes, ma'am.
Are any of the other folks that helped you start this still involved with Pathway?
Well, most of them
Many of them passed away.
Most of them are gone, yes, or else they're too old. I mean, I'm old too, but I think most of them are, if we need them, they'll donate things. But for the most part, we don't really have too much. We don't have an organization that we get together anymore. We used to be a parent group, and we had great meetings, and we always had it was always a supper, and everybody was there. So that's how we started. My husband was my husband was very busy too with this because Raymond was on the board. I was just in the parent group. So
Yeah. Well, it's refreshing to see what can happen when you get a group who just won't take no for an answer. That's kind of the way you were.
that's the way we were. Yeah, we were bound and determined to be financed if we had to finance it ourselves.
And you did, didn't you?
And we did. Yes, sir.
Thanks for visiting with us.
Thank you.
Kevin Bush, we're standing in what they call the attic, and it's the resale shop at Pathway. And this is a place that they didn't used to have before they got the new building because they didn't have room. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. And sometimes you work in here.
Yes.
What kind of jobs do you do when you're working in here?
It usually varies.
Yeah, like what? Give me an example of what's a normal day in the attic. What's a normal day like?
Sometimes I'll take out the trash for them. I'll put stuff away for them. And I'll separate clothes and all that for them.
Yeah. People bring in donations, don't they?
Yes.
And they need some help, I guess, don't they? Yeah. So you carry the stuff in, and then of course somebody has to figure out, well, this is good, this is not good, and you might recycle some of it. How do you make decisions on what's usable and what's not usable?
Sometimes I'll ask if I have a question.
And we may have seen you working earlier in the electronics vocational area because you take computers apart, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Is that a challenge? Tell me what that's like.
It's a real challenge for me.
You know what to save and what not to save?
Do
you? How'd you learn that?
Well, I learned all this from when I was in school.
You're kind of proud of your Special Olympics, aren't you? Yeah. What sports do you play?
Right now we're in soccer and softball.
Soccer and softball. What position in soccer do you play?
Goalie.
You're the goalie? That means you got good hands. Yeah, good hands. And it helps taking computers apart too, doesn't it, having good hands? Well, as we're talking, Kevin, I want to just take a look at this resale shop called The Attic here. And as you look at this place, you can see you've got row after row after row of gently used clothing here. And you probably helped hang a lot of this stuff up, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Do you ever help the customers when they come in here?
Not usually.
You're a behind-the-scenes guy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, thanks for taking time out of your day to talk to us, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Stephanie Baptist, you've been development director for 9 years, and it may be the most difficult 9 years of Pathway's existence. I mean, once the founders got it off the ground, things continued to build and build and build, and then about, in the last 5 years or so, when the Jacksonville Development Center came under such dubious circumstances. Was the state going to close it down? Was the state not going to close it down? Pathway had 2 buildings out there
Right.
and housed some of your clients.
Yes.
So you had this all going on. We need to expand, but what's going to happen to JDC? And so you had a lot of questions during that time.
And also paired with the fact that much of the time the state is behind on payments to us. So it's been a very exciting but nerve-wracking past few years, and you know, it was always our dream to consolidate our multiple locations to under one roof. And those conversations started the year that I was hired, 2005. We started talking about, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if we got everybody into one building and simplify things, simplify our transportation, our staffing, and all of those things that go with it. So those conversations started early, and when the conversation started about JDC possibly closing, that just kind of complicated things.
Yeah.
Or made things more exciting, depending on how you want to look at it. Because we didn't know, you know, there's no certainty, and it was every day it was something different. Yes, they're going to close. No, they're not going to close. The governor is trying to do this, you know, so lots and lots of factors that kind of came up.
And meanwhile, on Morton Avenue, there's the old Kmart building.
Yes.
And it's been sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. God knows it's plenty big.
It's plenty
but then you're
big.
thinking, well, will the property owner accept an offer? What do we have to do to it? I mean, is it going to be too big of a job? Well, as it turned out, after you made a couple of offers, it finally became yours, didn't it?
It did, and we made an offer. I don't even know what year it was, maybe 2007, and it was rejected. And ironically, at that same time, the state stopped paying us. And this is customary. It happens for months at a time, unfortunately. So we thought, you know what, this is not meant to be right now. We'll just take it off the table and move on. And then, again, the conversation started coming up about JDC possibly closing. Now, that wasn't our deciding factor. It played into it, but we were faced with the fact we have 200 people here every day. We cannot be forced out of anywhere and say, you know, have somebody tell us that you have to be out in 30 days.
Right.
You just cannot do that with people with disabilities. And so it became more, from our standpoint, we're not going to wait until we get kicked out by the state. And this is our longtime dream. Sometimes we got to just take the plunge in life and hope that things will work out. This is a well thought out process. We had meetings and meetings and meetings. Now, it is the biggest project we have ever, undertaken.
100,000 square feet
Yes.
of retail space, and we're going to show some pictures now too, because this is what the Pathway looked like, I guess, the day that you bought the place and got your sign on it, right?
Right.
But it still looks like the Kmart.
It still looks like the Kmart. It was all boarded up and had been for about 10 years.
Yep, and there it is. Thank you for shopping Big K. Probably that sign was probably one of the first things to come down. But you could see the amount of work that you have in front of you, because when you look at it now, you walk through what appears to be a very modern office setting.
Right.
And here's, as we look at the, we could see where the electrician recycling was going on.
Yes.
This was the garden center,
Yes.
and you can see it has no floor at all in it. This is some of the rehab work you had to do. Turns out, somebody wanted to charge you $250,000 to gut the place. You did it yourself and then sold the salvage.
We did. We did.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
That is terrific.
You have to be creative when you work in the nonprofit world. So
And there's another look at what you had to deal with after after you got, and you look at it now, I say it looks like a perfectly new building, and you have your tenants, which help you a whole lot because
do.
You know, it helps you with the mortgage.
Right. It is a 100,000 square foot building, and when we were looking at this place, we said, well, what if we only took a portion of the building and then leased out some of the space to help pay the mortgage? And so that's what we've done. So Dunham's Sporting Goods has about 30,000 square feet. Rudy's Grill, she has about 5,000 square feet, and they're both great tenants. We love having them here, and we try to help them out as much as possible. They both have 7-year leases, and we hope that they will be here for a long time. So
it's been an interesting ride. As we chart the places where Pathway has had its different homes. This is the Jefferson School. I guess it was in the basement. You had to have some place where you could have kids' activities. The Lincoln Avenue Baptist Church also was used for a period of time. The Congregational Church on College Avenue, I guess the basement was used for a period of time. It's just anywhere you can go
where you can
to
find
have an activity for these kids, kids. There's the corner of Church and State Street, the Grace United Methodist Church. And these are some of the group homes that you used over the years, and you buy and sell group homes. These are no longer your group homes, but these housed some of your folks for a while. Here's the picture of the property that would become the school, and pictures here of the school actually being built.
Yes.
And that's still in use by Pathway today.
yes, our children's program is still housed there.
Yeah, you have come a long way.
Yes, we have.
Mike Fox, here's one thing that the public might not have thought about. They might not think that when you have 200 people, many of them in all kind of different health situations, you got to have nurses on staff because things happen, don't they?
They certainly do.
And a lot of your folks here, they need special attention.
We range the gamut from medically fragile to relatively healthy individuals that get around the community fairly well. So, we have 4 full-time RNs and an LPN.
Yeah. As we're looking here, we look into your you have a treatment room here where if somebody comes in with some kind of a condition, an illness, anything, they might feel weak or they need attention. In this case, this person's IV needs to be cleaned out, right? Because it was lunchtime.
Actually,
and that's
feeding
sort of
tube, not IV.
I'm sorry, feeding tube. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just a normal.
Normal everyday occurrence. We do treatments here, breathing treatments, feeding tubes. If anybody's weak, we take of course, they're all their vitals here. We have an area where they can rest. If they're not feeling well, feeling nauseous. We also have pass medications to everybody every day here in the day program, and get called out to the houses. We have 17 group homes.
Well, and that's another thing. With 17 homes and 6 to 8 people at a home, you guys are probably on the move a lot, aren't you?
We certainly are.
Yeah. And then if somebody has to be admitted to a hospital, you would have to take care of that as well.
This is true, and of course, when they get released from the hospital, we have to get in charge of all their meds that as they're discharged.
Yeah. So there would be 3 or 4 of you here at any given time.
There has to be a nurse available 24 hours a day for anything that happens.
Yeah. Very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Becky Fitzgerald, much of what this new building is filled with is what we call day services.
Yes.
And you're a supervisor of day services, and you've been in this business for a long time, doing social services for 30 years or so, right?
Yes.
And so you have a number of teachers or staff who help these folks every day learn certain things toward becoming independent, I guess is the goal, I guess.
Yes, it is. We try and provide activities every day that fits the need of the individual to make them and get them on the track to independence, that hopefully at some time they'd be able to live either on their own or in a group home setting.
We've seen some of the workers here in the electronics recycling, for instance. Those guys and gals they're very good at what they're doing. I mean, they're taking those things apart. They've learned really how to do it. And everybody's at a different stage, of course, but some of these people in here are going to be able to do similar type work as that.
Yes, they are.
So each one has an individual task going on here.
Yes, it's after lunch, and Penny here is working on her alphabet picture desk with her different alphabets, and then at the bottom there's numbers that has music and things to go with it.
It seems like she's enjoying herself too.
She's a happy soul.
As we walk around, you can see, well, some of them are, this man's taking his time playing solitaire, but solitaire might not be such a bad thing. There you go, there you go.
Bill's here's playing solitaire because he does all kinds of things with numbers, and he likes to play cards, and so does Eric.
What do we learn in this?
Jenny does fine motor skills where it's kind of a balancing act, it looks like today, but she also does
it's starting over.
red and black
Yeah.
recognition and checkers, and then sometimes she'll play with somebody else.
Yeah, it'd be kind of difficult to have to start over, but she's going to do it. And over here, the same way, we've got a card game going over here, and this
Right.
would be recognizing numbers, I guess,
Yes, it
as
is.
well as colors. So
Exactly.
everybody in this room is at a different level, and so you
Right.
just sort of work individually, work them through. As we go to the next room, it's a little different situation because there's a group working together.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe multiple activities, but they work together
you-
to achieve activities that may intertwine with each other.
All right, Bill, ready? You got a dime, another dime,
Okay. Now
another dime.
what is she trying to teach him now?
Money
You got
recognition.
5 cents.
Oh.
And then
okay.
then he will try and count how much money he
And then you got a
has.
penny.
Okay. And you
And
might
he adds it up.
And through that you might have color recognition, you might have number recognition, coin recognition. They're all seem to be working together here.
Right. And if you can put it in the form of a game for this classroom, they're higher functioning and they love the competition.
Yeah, yeah. And so you have how many staff helping you in this teaching part of this day service?
In day services, we have about 40 now.
Really? Wow, that's terrific. That's
They're
good.
divided across 13 classrooms every day.
Yeah. Well, thank you and the staff very much for putting up with us. I know that we had to stop
it's a
some things,
pleasure.
and thanks very much. Okay. As you can see at Pathway, they're not that averse to trying new things. Now they're in the old Kmart building, the new Pathway Center. They have tenants helping them pay the mortgage. They've started an electronics recycling program, and the Attic, which is also a new resale shop, and they're constantly looking for new ways to help the public. With another Illinois Story in Jacksonville, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send 1995 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.